The Sunday everything collapsed started with one text from my son, "Mom, come over for lunch. We need to talk." I thought he wanted to reconnect. I had no idea he and his wife were planning to take my home, the penthouse I spent 30 years paying for, and force me into a senior care facility like I was a piece of old furniture they wanted out of the way. I was slipping on my shoes when my lawyer sent a message that froze my blood. "Helen, do not go. Call me, now." 10 minutes later, he told me the unthinkable: my own child had secretly transferred my condo into his name, mortgaged it for $350,000, and was preparing to sell it before Christmas. If you think that sounds impossible, wait until you hear what happened when I showed up to their family lunch. Here is part 1, 900 words fully rewritten, with your new American names, new setting, natural U.S. English emotional depth, and a strong build-up to the first major twist. I wrote it in first person as a middle-aged American woman, telling her own story with vivid imagery tension and a cliffhanger ending with interactive questions. My name is Helen Marshall. I'm 68 years old, and for most of my life, I believed I had raised a good man. My son Daniel was the kind of boy who used to run home from school just to sit in my bakery and steal warm cinnamon rolls off the cooling rack. I built my life around that boy, working double shifts, saving every extra dollar, turning a tiny corner bakery called Helen's Oven into something the whole neighborhood loved. And for 30 years, everything I earned went into one thing: my penthouse condo in Seattle. My safe place, my retirement, my home. So the Sunday everything fell apart started exactly the way any ordinary Sunday should. The sky outside was the color of pewter, one of those quiet Pacific Northwest mornings where the light barely makes it through the clouds. I had just buttoned the cuffs of my navy blouse when my phone buzzed. A text from my son. "Daniel, Mom, can you come over for lunch today? We need to talk about something important." I remember smiling at the word important. Maybe he had good news. Maybe he and Lauren were finally thinking about having a child. I'd been hoping quietly for a grandbaby, something to bring the family closer again. I grabbed my coat, locked up the bakery for the day, and was about to head downstairs to the garage when my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Daniel. It was my attorney, Robert Hayes. "Helen, do not go to Daniel's. Call me, now." My heartbeat skipped. Robert wasn't dramatic. He wasn't the type to use capital letters. My fingers shook as I pressed call. He answered on the first ring. "Helen, where are you? About to drive to Daniel's." "Why? What's wrong?" There was a long pause, the kind of silence that tells you the truth is going to hurt. "Helen, you need to come to my office. Immediately." "Robert," I whispered, my throat tightening. "What is this about?" "It's about your condo." My condo. My knees almost gave out right there in the hallway. But I forced myself to go. I drove across the bridge into downtown, trying not to let my mind create stories. Maybe there'd been a mistake with homeowner taxes. Maybe someone filed something wrong. Maybe... But deep down, a small, cold voice whispered, "Something is very, very wrong." When I reached Robert's office, he was already waiting by the door. He guided me inside like I was made of glass, and didn't speak until he closed the blinds. "Helen," he said gently, "please sit. I'd rather stand." He took a breath. "6 months ago, you signed a document transferring ownership of your penthouse to Daniel." My stomach dropped. "No," I said immediately. "I never transferred anything. You signed," he said softly. "Your signature is on every page." I felt the room tilt. A ringing started in my ears. "That's impossible." Robert laid the papers in front of me, clean, official, notarized, stamped. My signature curved across the bottom in blue ink. That can't be real," I murmured. "Helen, do you remember the day Daniel and Lauren came over to help with your financial paperwork?" I froze. I remembered that day vividly. Lauren had brought me lemon bars from some fancy cafe, and Daniel had plugged his laptop into my dining table. They told me they'd found a way to protect me from rising property taxes. There were so many forms, IRS documents, county notifications, homeowner updates. I had trusted them. Of course I had. I swallowed. "Robert, "What exactly did I sign? The transfer of ownership," he repeated quietly, followed by a secondary authorization giving Daniel full financial power of attorney regarding the property. I felt my chest tighten. "So, does that mean yes?" Robert's voice softened. "Legally, you no longer own your home." The shock hit like a physical punch. My condo, the place where my husband and I celebrated our 20th anniversary, the home I fought for, it wasn't mine anymore. "And Helen," Robert added, hesitating. "There's more." My voice cracked. "Just say it." He slid another document across the table loan papers. "Daniel and Lauren used your condo as collateral for a $350,000 loan." My hand flew to my mouth. They mortgaged my home." "Yes," for what I whispered. "We don't know yet." "But Helen—" Robert leaned closer, his eyes filled with a seriousness I'd never seen before. "Based on what I've uncovered, they're planning to force you into a senior care facility so they can sell the condo outright." I stumbled back, as if someone had hit me. Daniel, my Daniel, for a moment I couldn't breathe. I kept seeing him as a little boy with flour on his cheeks, giggling behind the pastry counter. How could he— No! I refused to believe it. Robert continued carefully. "And the lunch invitation today is likely a setup. They need you to sign one last document to surrender any remaining rights you have." My blood ran cold. I thought I was going to Daniel's house to feel close to him again. But in reality, I was walking straight into a trap. I sank into the chair, shaking. "Robert, what do I do, Helen?" he said gently but firmly. "If you're strong enough, we'll fight. But first, you need to go to that lunch and pretend you don't know anything." I looked up slowly. Pretend. I hadn't just learned my only child had been planning to take everything from me. Pretend the people I loved most were the ones trying to erase me. Robert reached for my hands. "You're not alone. But you need evidence. You need their words. Go to lunch. Let them talk. Let them dig their own hole." My heartbeat hammered in my chest. I felt fragile, betrayed, angry, and strangely, stronger than I'd felt in a long time. I stood. "Fine, I'll go." But inside, a storm was beginning to rise. "Before I continue, let me ask you something. If your own child tricked you into signing away your home, would you stay quiet or fight back? If you think what Daniel and Lauren did was wrong, type 10 in the comments. I drove to Daniel's house that afternoon, with my heart pounding so hard I thought it might bruise my ribs. Seattle rain tapped against the windshield, steady and cold, matching the chill crawling up my spine. I kept replaying Robert's words over and over. "You need evidence. Let them talk." I hated it. I hated pretending I didn't know the truth. I hated feeling like an intruder in my own child's life. And worst of all, I hated that I wasn't sure I even recognized my son anymore. When I pulled into Daniel and Lauren's driveway, everything looked perfect. Their lawn trimmed like a magazine cover, their porch decorated with expensive pottery and matching lanterns. It was the kind of house that screams, "We have it all together." But I knew better now. Lauren opened the door first, her smile too bright, too staged. "Helen, come in, come in. We've been waiting." She gave me a quick hug, the kind where the arms touch, but the heart doesn't. Daniel appeared behind her hands, tucked in his pockets, eyes avoiding mine. "Hi, Mom," he said, almost sheepish. For a split second, I saw the son I used to know, the shy boy who cried when he lost his first baseball game. Then I remembered the loan papers, the transfer documents, the plan to push me into a senior care facility, and that image vanished. The house smelled like rosemary chicken. Lauren always cooked well when she wanted something. We sat at the dining table. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the pressure of holding everything inside. I reminded myself, play along, stay quiet, let them speak. Lauren started right away. "So, Helen," she said lightly, slicing into her chicken, "we actually invited you today to talk about something important." Important. That same word again, the word that used to fill me with hope. I forced a smile. "Of course. What's going on?" Daniel exhaled the way businessmen do when preparing a pitch. "Mom, we've been reviewing your finances." I almost laughed. My finances? Those didn't exist anymore. They'd already taken them. And we think it's time to start planning for your future, Daniel finished. My future, I repeated, keeping my tone airy. Lauren nodded, her voice gentle, the way people talk to children. You're living alone, Helen. It's not safe. There are so many stories of seniors falling, forgetting things, getting confused. I'm not confused, I said quietly. Lauren waved a hand. Oh, of course not confused. Just, aging. That word stung more than it should have. Daniel chimed in. We think the best solution is for you to move into a care facility. A really good one, Evergreen Senior Care. My fork froze. He said it so casually, as if he wasn't asking me to give up my home, my independence, my life. Lauren leaned closer, lowering her voice. And it's all set up, Helen. They have a room available as early as next month. Next month. They wanted me out before Christmas. I forced myself to swallow my anger. Why so soon? Lauren's eyes flicked to Daniel. Well, it's complicated. I let the silence stretch until she filled it. Daniel and I are considering putting your condo on the market. The market's strong right now, and it would help us pay off that big loan we took for renovations we're planning. Renovations? They were already talking about remodeling my home as if my life wasn't part of it. Daniel added quickly. And you'll still have access to the profits, Mom. I mean, in a sense. The facility has payment programs and will cover whatever's left. They weren't covering anything. They were using my home to pay their debts. I felt something in my chest twist, grief, anger, disbelief, maybe all three at once. I kept my voice steady. I see. So, you'd like me to leave my home? Lauren smiled like a teacher praising a slow student. Exactly. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. If you sign these documents, it'll make everything smoother. Just consent forms. Nothing complicated. My blood ran cold. This was it. The final step Robert warned me about. I took the folder with trembling fingers, not from fear, but from rage I barely contained. My eyes skimmed the pages, waiver of residency rights, authorization for sale, transfer of access. If I signed these, I wouldn't even legally be allowed to enter my own condo. I forced my smile to widen. I should look these over at home, don't you think? Lauren shrugged. Sure, but the notary is available on Wednesday. We'd like to finalize everything then. Wednesday, 3 days. I nodded slowly. Okay, I'll be there. The relief on their faces made me sick. After lunch, Lauren stepped outside to take a phone call. She didn't notice I'd followed her quietly onto the patio. Her voice was sharp, annoyed. Yes, she bought it. She's completely clueless. By New Year's, the condo will be gutted and ready for the contractor. Daniel and I will finally. My heart stopped. I stepped back before she saw me, my hands shaking. I had it now. The evidence. The truth. On my drive home, I cried long, silent tears of anger and heartbreak. But beneath all of it, a new feeling grew. Determination. They thought they were outsmarting me. They thought I was weak. They thought I wouldn't fight. They were wrong. Before I tell you what happened on Wednesday, let me ask you something. If your child asked you to sign away your own home, would you go along with it, or would you fight? If you think Helen should stand up for herself, type 10. Wednesday arrived faster than I expected. I barely slept the night before. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Daniel as a little boy running through my bakery with frosting on his chin, promising me he'd always take care of me when he grew up. Funny how promises made by children can echo louder than the choices they make as adults. But I knew what I had to do. Robert met me outside the notary office. He looked resolute, calm, almost stern, like a man finally ready to correct a mistake he had carried for years. Are you ready, Helen? No, I said honestly, but I'm steady. He nodded. Good enough. When Daniel and Lauren arrived, they were all smiles. Lauren wore a cream blazer, like she was attending a fundraising gala. Daniel looked tired, but polished pressed shirt, polished shoes, the whole performance of a man who believed he was in control. Lauren chirped, I'm so glad you came. This will just take a minute. I looked at my son. "Daniel, can we talk for a second, alone?" He hesitated, then followed me a few steps away. "Mom," he sighed, "I know this seems sudden, but we're really just trying to help you. You're not getting younger, and Daniel," I interrupted softly, "do you think I'm incapable? Do you think I'm a burden?" He blinked, startled. "No, I never said." "But you let her say it, over and over." His face flushed red. "You heard that?" "Yes," I whispered. "I heard everything." For a moment I thought he might break, might apologize, might crumble, might finally see me not as a responsibility to manage, but as the mother who spent her whole life loving him. But then Lauren called out impatient Daniel, "We need you in here," and whatever softness was in him vanished. "We'll talk later," he muttered, walking away. I followed them inside. The notary, a middle-aged woman with gentle eyes, greeted us. Papers were stacked neatly on the desk, the same papers that would strip me of the last thread of control over my life. Lauren took the lead, tapping the stack. "These are the forms Helen will sign today." But before she could continue, Robert spoke. "Actually, there are a few things we need to clarify first." Lauren rolled her eyes. "We've already gone over everything with the bank, yes." Robert interrupted, but not with the police. The door opened. 2 officers and a representative from the district attorney's office stepped inside. Lauren's face drained of color. Daniel stiffened like he'd been punched. "What? What is this?" Lauren whispered. The DA agent held up a folder. "We're here regarding allegations of elder financial abuse, mortgage fraud, and intentional misrepresentation." Lauren sputtered. "This is ridiculous." Helen agreed to give us the condo. Robert placed a tiny digital recorder on the table. "And this," he said calmly, "is the full recording of your conversation on Sunday. Every insult, every manipulation, every detail of your plan to force Helen into a senior care facility so you could sell her home." Lauren lunged for Daniel's arm. "Say something," but Daniel stayed silent. The notary stepped back from the desk, her expression shifting from neutral professionalism to visible disgust. The DA agent turned to Daniel. "Mr. Marshall, you signed for a $350,000 loan using property you did not legally have full consent to use. You knowingly coerced your mother into signing documents I didn't coerce her," Daniel shouted. The agent read from the transcript. "She's old, she won't understand anything we put in front of her. By New Year's, we'll gut the place." Daniel froze. Lauren muttered, "That wasn't supposed to be recorded." Robert's voice was low, steady, razor-sharp. "You underestimated her. You thought weakness meant stupidity. It doesn't." The next hour blurred officers taking statements, Lauren crying hysterically, Daniel slumping in his chair as the reality hit him like a wave he couldn't outrun. When the officers finally led Lauren outside for processing, she glared at me with a hatred so sharp it almost amused me. "You ruined everything," she screamed. I shook my head sadly. "No, Lauren. You did that yourself." Daniel remained in the room, shaking. When the agents finished speaking with him, he walked toward me slowly, as if every step hurt. "Mom," his voice cracked, "I don't know how things got this far. I swear I never meant to hurt you. I thought this was the only way to get ahead. I studied him, the man he was now, not the boy I remembered. I raised you better than this," I said softly. He lowered his head. "I know." For the first time in months, I touched his cheek. "You will face consequences, Daniel. That's how life works. That's how we learn." Tears spilled down his face. "Will you ever forgive me?" "Forgiveness," I whispered, "is not a switch. It's a road. And I'm willing to walk it. If you're willing to walk it too." He nodded, sobbing quietly. Months passed. The court returned ownership of the penthouse to me. Daniel received probation, mandatory financial ethics counseling, and by court order had to volunteer at Safe Roots, the new nonprofit I created to protect seniors from financial exploitation. I didn't create it out of bitterness. I created it out of purpose, out of truth, out of survival, out of the belief that the worst moments of our lives can become the seeds of something meaningful. Daniel shows up every week early. He hands out brochures, helps seniors understand their paperwork, and sometimes when he thinks I'm not watching, he wipes his eyes. I don't tell him I see. Healing has its own quiet rhythm. One evening, as we locked up the office, he whispered, "Thanks for giving me a chance to be better." And I finally felt something soften inside me. Maybe not forgiveness, but hope. And sometimes, hope is the beginning of everything. Before I end my story, let me ask you, how did this story make you feel? If you think Helen made the right choice, comment 100. Tell me what country you're watching from, and please share this video so more people can hear stories like this.